Hello everybody and welcome to my Chef character guide. Now, Chef is actually locked when you first purchase the DLC, and I recommend you keep it that way. Thank you very much for watching my guide. I'm just kidding, guys. But man, oh man, let me preface this entire guide by saying that Chef is easily the worst survivor in the entire game. There is simply nothing special going on in his kit, and I hope that when you are watching this video in the future, Chef has had some significant buffs because he truly needs them. But with that being said, here's what I can tell you to hopefully improve your cooking potential. To start, unlocking him is quite easy. You just need to take a green portal and then place 3 items into some pedestals, a cautious slug, a bison steak, and an infusion. You can place any of these 3 items across any run. You do not need to place them all during the same run. Link in the description below for a quick 1-minute video if you need some more details. Now, let's get into Chef's abilities. His passive, Chef's Kiss, causes enemies which were damaged by at least 2 different abilities to drop a special orb on death that heals 10% of your maximum health. You can just think of this like a slightly better monster tooth. His primary, Dice, throws a cleaver out, dealing 250% damage to anything in its path that can then be recalled at any point, dealing 375% damage on the return. There are 3 charges by default, with each charge recovering after 2 seconds, which is affected by both your attack speed and your cooldown reduction. However, only 1 cleaver can exist at any given time, and the cleaver will harmlessly spin in place upon reaching a maximum travel distance until it is manually recalled. His secondary, Sear, is a short-range flamethrower that deals 600% damage over 2 seconds, or 675% if the target is glazed from your special. It's also the worst ability in the game. More on that in a bit. His utility, Roll, is a dash lasting 2.5 seconds, dealing 500% damage and stunning any enemy hit. Roll can also be charged up to increase its damage and duration, but not its speed. At maximum charge, which takes roughly 3 seconds, it will instead deal 800% damage and have an additional second of travel time. And unlike the other damaging impacts in the game, like Multi's transport mode or the volcanic egg equipment, Chef's Roll can hit enemies more than once per cast. Finally, Chef has the choice of 2 specials. First, Glaze, which shoots out 7 orbs in a spread, each dealing 200% damage and applying the Weaken debuff, which lowers armor by 30% and movement speed and damage by 40% for roughly 7 seconds. The second special, Yes Chef, simply buffs any other ability once activated, going on a 15-second cooldown once the buffed ability is used. For Dice, the singular cleaver thrown in a straight line is replaced by roughly 15 cleavers that instead cover 360 degrees around Chef. They also are supposed to inflict burn, but I think it's bugged right now because you only get like 2 or 3 stacks of burn, so it's not every cleaver. For Sear, 3 orbs are shot out before the regular flamethrower effect then continues, and for Roll, you basically turn into a whirlwind barbarian for its duration. Alright, those are his abilities. Now, and the moment you've all been waiting for, let's talk about some actual tips for playing Chef. Again, if you're watching this video in the future, understand that what I say here may be inaccurate due to Chef receiving potential changes and hopefully just straight up buffs. Because yes, he really is that bad in his current state. I'm not making it up. So just keep that in mind. If I have to make an update to this guide in the future, I will. Anyway, let's get this out of the way first. Do not take Yes Chef, the alternate special, ever. It has a 15-second cooldown versus Glaze's 10, and the cooldown only begins after the buffed ability is used. You can't use Yes Chef, hold the charge, let its cooldown recover, and then essentially get 2 buffed abilities back to back. No, you have to use the ability, which also has like a 2-second animation lock to it. Then after that, you have to use the buffed ability, then the 15-second cooldown begins. And just to put Yes Chef in some full perspective, let's take Sear, which is already a garbage tier ability, the worst ability in the game. It is basically just a worse version of Artificer's Flamethrower. Yeah, that ability that basically nobody takes ever because it's that bad. It's worse than that. When you buff Sear using Yes Chef, it literally receives no additional effect aside from the 3 orbs that shoot out for a 15-second cooldown. Like, you can't even remotely strategize using Yes Chef. It is just garbage tier. And the best part, remember, it's a 2-second animation. It's not even an instant buff. I'm not gonna bother explaining things further here, boys. Just trust me. I've done a clip state on Chef. Do not take Yes Chef. Period. Now, is that because Glaze, his default special, is a good ability? Not really. It's just significantly better than the alternative. All right, here is the best combo I can give you on Chef. Number 1, glaze an enemy. Number 2, use your rolling pin. And number 3, spin in a circle and use Sear. The reason why you can do this is that for some reason, you cannot Sear and then use rolling pin. If you do that, it'll just cancel the flamethrower, but you can rolling pin and then use Sear. So remember that roll can hit the same enemy multiple times in the same cast. So you just spin in a circle to make sure you're hitting it as much as possible. And then sear is just free damage on top of that. So it's like slightly more damage. It's just by far that is the most efficient combo on Chef. You glaze him, you spin on him, and then you sear all over him. Now, here is the hilarious thing to me. I'm pretty sure that you can do all of that and just replace sear with your cleaver spam and you'll do more damage. It doesn't matter if you have attack speed, it doesn't matter if you have ignition tank, it doesn't matter. Just using your cleavers instead of sear is probably a bigger DPS bonus. Like, that's how bad sear is. Gearbox, how in the actual fuck in the same update do we get Chef's sear and False Sun's laser beam? Like, we're going from a melee range, range tickle damage flamethrower to a fucking cross map hits 20 times per second laser beam lasting 10 seconds. Chef has a 0.5 proc coefficient on his primary. 0.5! It is unbelievable how bad Chef is. He truly is the worst survivor in Risk of Rain 2. Like, that combo that I just talked about on Chef, yeah, that requires you to be in melee range to do it. It's by far his highest DPS output scenario, and you have to be in melee range with no escape to do it. You have to use your movement skill to do damage. He's awful. I'm sorry, I really am. To those of you who are looking forward to your favorite cook finally being in Risk of Rain 2, it is just a sorry excuse of an implementation. He just sucks, plain and simple. I honestly don't have anything else to say about playing Chef aside from just spam your cleavers. That's it. That's the entire character. Spam your cleavers, and then once you see a pretty tanky enemy, and hopefully he doesn't kill you, right? Because you have to be in melee range to do this. You glaze them, you spin on them, and you sear, or you just even throw more cleavers. It's probably better damage, like I said. Like, that's literally it. So, Gearbox, if you're watching this video for whatever reason, it's just like there is no clear direction and overall quality control with this DLC. Like, how? Please tell me, how in the world do we get Sear and False Sun Laser Beam in the same update? How did you think Sear was an okay ability? I am genuinely baffled. And why are there charges on the cleavers? Just remove the charges and have the cooldown reset when you catch the cleaver. Like, yeah, that means you can then spam cleavers nonstop in melee range, but guess what? You're in melee range. There's already a debuff to that. You're in melee range. You don't need to balance that mechanic any further by adding charges because it's already balanced by being in melee range. Have you seen what happens in melee range when you play Risk of Rain 2 on stage 5, when you're fighting Mithras, when you're looping? Anyway, that's all I have here for the Chef Guide, boys. I am truly not being sarcastic here. Chef is in a terrible state. I really hope he gets some buffs in the future. I truly hope that you're watching this video in the future just for entertainment purposes alone, because Chef has received some significant changes and buffs. Thank you guys for watching.